Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. The night was alive with shrill laughter and clinking glasses, the kind of raucous celebration only summer could birth. The sprawling lawn of Evelyn and Mark's suburban home was bathed in warm, golden fairy lights that tangled through the ancient maple at its edge, twisting like veins of molten gold. Inside, the air was thick with music, perfume, and the unsaid secrets of 30 or so revelers gathered for what was touted as the party of the season. Everyone had arrived that July evening with the same assumption. This was a simple, joyous occasion to bask in old friendships and new flirtations. But the arrival of one stranger soon began to turn the neon-lit tangle of smiles into something far more sinister. Their evening began to crack and shift like a dry earth, splitting wide open to welcome an uninvited presence whose knowledge was as deep as the night was long. It started when Lily first took note of him. She was near the door, balancing a glass of wine and watching the steady incoming flow of friends, neighbors, and a smattering of colleagues mingling without concern. The man appeared suddenly at the edge of the crowd, tall and dressed sharply in a dark suit that didn't match the casual theme of the party. His features were plain in a disturbingly blank way. A face that seemed crafted not to attract attention but to erase itself from memories later. His eyes, pale and unnervingly still, scanned the room like an oracle reading a scroll composed with each guest's sins and lies. Lily frowned as she overheard someone ask, "Who invited him?" But no one had. No one had seen him arrive, and he wasn't on the guest list. Yet, curiously, none dared to confront the stranger directly. He smiled thinly and made his way toward the center of the gathering, cutting through conversations as if he owned the space. When he stopped beside Mark, Evelyn's husband, who had been regaling a small group with tales from his recent business trip, the room stilled. A chill crawled unspoken beneath the laughter. Mark blinked, then stiffened. "Do I know you?" he asked cautiously, but the stranger only shook his head with a smile too knowing. "I know you," he said softly. "You think no one knows the company you keep, but I do. Your late-night calls to that woman, the ones you think Evelyn never suspects." A hush fell around the group. A nervous ripple chased across the crowd as more looked at the stranger. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn demanded, stepping forward with brows drawn tight. She reached to grasp Mark's arm, her knuckles white. "Who are you? How do you know these things?" The stranger unfurled his hands as if in invitation, but there was no warmth there. "I've always been invited," he said cryptically. "I'm just the guest you never sent a name for." Then he turned to Lily, eyes never faltering. "Lily, you hide more than your fears behind those polite laughs. Your husband's long hours are not really work, are they? The phone calls, the messages you delete. He thinks you don't notice, but I do." Murmurs broke, confusion and disquiet replacing the easy camaraderie, now unraveling like pulled thread. How could this stranger know such personal things? Everyone felt exposed beneath his gaze. "You think you're living carefree lives, don't you?" he said, voice low, almost amused. "But what have you forgotten? What messes have you left to fade behind closed doors?" His eyes wandered to Sam by the drinks. "Sam, you lied on your resume. Twice. But you thought your friends would never look deeper." At this, Sam's face paled, his grip tightening on a beer bottle. "Who the hell are you? We didn't invite you here." He grinned faintly, the ghost of a predator reveling in terror's first breath. "But I was invited, by all of you. The ones you forgot, the ones you pushed away, the ones you silenced." The party's music stopped abruptly as Mark's phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up trembling, reading texts no one else could see. The messages spilled secrets into the open, betrayals, lies, and broken promises, all threading the chaos unfolding. Panic set in as the party guests realized this man was more than an intruder. He was a reckoner. Evelyn swayed, gripping the edge of the buffet table as if it might anchor her sanity. But as the stranger began to speak again, they all heard the undeniable weight in his voice. There are truths you buried beneath laughter, beneath the glow of these harmless gatherings. And now, I've come to dig them up. A hush fell. Then a voice, shaky and confused, broke through the silence from near the back. Who are you? How do you know all this? Are you some kind of stalker? The stranger's eyes glinted with cold amusement. I am what you forgot in the dark corners of your lives, the consequences you pretended didn't exist. I am the party guest no one invited. He stepped forward into the golden light cast by the hanging lanterns, and suddenly his appearance shifted, like shadows folding in on themselves. His face became a blur, then multiplied, each visage remembering a different name and secret as if he was a many-headed monster speaking in an orchestra of lies. Then he stopped, singular again, eyes boring into each soul gathered. Tonight, this party will not end with laughter. Tonight, every lie you told unravels, every secret bleeds out into the open. Because I am here to remind you, to carve your guilt into the night until you cannot escape. The guests scrambled, some backing into the house, others to the darkness beyond the maples where the shadows shifted ominously. But wherever they fled, the stranger was always there, whispering the harshest truths, dragging memories from their bones. Phones and cameras glitched when they tried to capture him, and any attempt to call the police met static or eerie silence. Lily frantically tried to push through the waves of memories and dread crashing upon her mind. She tried to recall how this man could possibly know so much, but her own recollections splintered under his gaze. She saw scenes from her past, betrayals, moments of quiet cruelty she thought long forgotten. The stranger wasn't just telling secrets, he was revealing their purest, most raw shame. You think you live in a protective bubble, he said to the group now amassing back inside, their faces pale and wet with tears or sweat. But I am that bubble, and I will burst you all. You invited me with your silences, your forgotten refusals to face yourselves. Evelyn's voice cracked. What do you want? Why are you doing this? He smiled, deeply unsettling. I want you to remember. To own your darkness. Because denial feeds the real death of your souls, of what's left unatoned inside you. So I am here, to host a party where you face yourselves. Hours bled into a twisted dream or nightmare. He prowled among them, and their attempts to avoid him became futile. Every confession that spilled out began to twist the atmosphere. Friends turned on each other, fights erupted, and long-buried resentments exploded like wildfire. No matter how hard they wished to pretend, the stranger's gaze held them captive, not just physically, but mentally, unearthing every fragment they hoped had been buried. By midnight, the party was no longer a celebration but a bleak tableau of broken souls. Evelyn sat on the porch steps, holding Mark's hand but unable to meet his eyes. Lily collapsed into a chair, trembling as the stranger approached once more. I see you, Lily, he said gently, but the horror under his tone froze her blood. You protect your pain with jokes and smiles, but you never told your husband the truth about the miscarriage last year. The silence screamed louder than your tears. Her breath caught, and she nodded, too shattered to reply. You must decide, the stranger said softly. Will you face your shadows, or will you let them drown you? Hours passed in agonizing communion with guilt and truth. Some guests wept, some raged, but a few found fragile strength in confessions shared. The stranger's presence forced stark honesty not because he was malicious but because he embodied a brutal kind of justice, a mirror reflecting the ugly truths none could bear on their own. As dawn's pale light crept over the horizon, the stranger finally spoke one last time. Remember this night, the party of your reckoning. I was always part of you, all the things you pretended not to see. Now you know. And whether you choose to live honestly or sink into denial, I will be waiting at every threshold." With that, he vanished, leaving nothing but the faintest chill on the awakening breeze and a trail of shattered facades in his wake. In the weeks that followed, the guests at Evelyn and Mark's summer party did not speak openly of the stranger. But the party's memory clung to them like a ghost. Unspoken, it twisted their relationships, haunting their quiet moments, a spectral demand for truth where once had been only pretense. No one ever invited him, but everyone had summoned him by the very things they refused to name. For more stories, like and subscribe.